Hi, welcome to Wellness Wednesdays with Dr. Gaynor Speaks. I am your host, Dr. Brianna Gaynor, and I am so excited to be here with you guys today. It is almost fall. We're still in the summer, but school is starting back. And so we thought it was nothing but appropriate to talk about readjusting to going back to school after a summer break. So I'm so excited that you are here. Last week, we started our series with talking about how to transition for adult learners, starting back into school and all the responsibilities that can come with that. And this week, we are talking about how to help your children thrive this new school year. So, welcome. And let's just dive right in. So, obviously, starting a new school year can be both exciting and challenging for both parents and children alike. And so, I want to provide some key strategies to help with your adjustment and hopefully make it easier and provide you some tips that hopefully will help with any struggles that you may encounter as the year progresses. So, first, let's talk about some basic things that I think are important for us to acknowledge. First thing is that your mindset influences your child's adjustment. What does that mean? That means that they pay attention a lot more to what you do than what you say. And so, how you are dealing with stress, your level of difficulty in helping them kind of adjust to school, what you're thinking about how the new school year is going to be, any changes that are happening and how you're dealing with that is going to affect their adjustment to school. A lot of times, particularly based on your child, sometimes they may seem like they don't care or things don't affect them, but trust me, it does. And so, what that means is that, first of all, acknowledge that life is stressful. Things are stressful. There may be transitions and changes that you're going through as a family. I think the first thing to do in general is to acknowledge that maybe there are some stressful things going on. Maybe there are struggles that you're dealing with that may impact how you're looking at what needs to happen next. Back to school shopping, the changes that are going to happen when we're starting school. And most importantly, teaching them how to cope through how you are dealing with struggles. So let me give you an example. The new school year is starting, and let's say you've also started a new job. So maybe your stress is how you're going to be able to manage going to work and also taking them to school and what that transition will be like. Talking to them about the fact that that transition may be challenging, but also talking through how we're going to deal with it and what our plans are going to be. And ultimately, what the goal is. The goal is for us both to be successful in these new roles, in your new grade in school and at me and my new job. So maybe the first few weeks, we are going to have to figure out what our routine is going to be. But ultimately, both of us are going to be able to be in a good place to be successful. So being honest about how you feel, but also talking them through how you're coping and showing them that it's okay to be stressed, but also we're going to come up with a plan as a family. The more you can talk about working together as a unit and what we are doing, the better they feel connected and the better there's a buy-in to whatever changes and steps, plans, routines need to be put in place. The second thing is balancing academic expectations while promoting emotional well-being. We want them to do well. It's important that they're trying their best, but also we want to also help them to be able to manage any stressful emotions in a healthy way. So what that means is we're going to acknowledge how we feel and talk about stress. And if we need a break, we'll take a break. Part of that is modeling. So let's say you have a stressful day. Having time where you guys talk about your highs and your lows and how you dealt with it is really going to be a way to model to your children how to deal with those stressful times. So maybe you were stressed with work, so you needed to take a step away to calm down and come back to it. Maybe that's something we can do with school. So if you're starting to feel stressed about school, maybe something you can kind of mention to your child is you're starting to feel stressed about school. We can always take a moment to stop, think about how we're feeling, and maybe we take a small break. We are not going to give up on what we're doing, but sometimes taking a break can help us to just realign ourselves. Sometimes we need to let those emotions out. It's okay to feel stressed. It's okay to be anxious about what's going to happen. So how do we deal with that while also working to do our best? But promoting that and showing them how you do it is going to be really essential to helping to make this school year successful. And most importantly, you are also going to help encourage independence, but provide support. Now, obviously, independence is going to grow as your child gets older. So the independence that you're going to give a third grader is different from a sixth grader. Maybe for the third grader, we are going to help them study. And then we are going to remind them to study one more time on their own and do their test. And we'll check in and see how they did. We are going to talk about the task they need to do, and we're going to allow them to do it. And then maybe we'll come back and check later. For a middle schooler, we're going to give you more independence on studying if we know that you have good study skills, and on turning your things in on time. We're going to make sure that you have the tools, you have, the assignments you have to do, you understand how to do it, and we're going to trust that you're going to do it. On the back end, though, we're going to periodically check to make sure you did those things. We are teaching our children how to be independent thinkers, how to have those executive functioning skills, which are planning, organizing, getting things in on time. And those are challenging tasks that we have as adults. So as we kind of progressively give them the ability to do some of those things on their own with our support, it teaches them how to grow these skills themselves. We don't want to do everything for them, but also allowing them to know that we're here to help them is really, really important. Most importantly, consider, again, they're watching what you do. So the more that you can be honest about stresses, the more that you can be honest about what your expectations are, the importance of making sure you're feeling okay and managing stress and encouraging them to do their best, the better they'll do, especially if not only are you telling them these things, but you're showing them in real time how to do it. A big part of that is being honest about what you experience and giving them small examples so that they can see that mom's saying this and this is how she's doing it. Dad's saying this and this is how it's happening. Talking about your day, narrating for them how you're managing these things is essential. They need that. They need to know how to deal with things in real life. And the more experience you give them, the more conversations you have, the better. So with that being said, and that as the basis, what are some specific everyday strategies we can put in place to help our children? First and foremost, putting in place a consistent morning and bedtime routine at least 2 weeks before school starts. Summer is the time when we are having fun. I remember staying up late, waking up late, not having any structure at all. And some of that is the fun of summer. But when school is about to start, it's important to start to get our mindset and our bodies ready for what's going to happen, which is now we'll have a specific time to go to bed, a specific time to wake up, and we're going to have things that we're going to need to do every day to be successful. So starting that 2 weeks in advance starts to get them ready for it. And it also can take out some of the kinks. What's a good time to go to bed? Where are some places we can put our book bags? How are we going to structure lunch? Really kind of talking through all those things that you have not had to think about during the summer helps you be better prepared on the first day of school, and also gets them acclimated. We don't want grouchy, sleepy children on the first day of school. We want them to be rested and to be excited for the start. And a lot of times, one of the biggest ways to deal with anxiety is preparation. So let's help them be prepared. And then homework, classwork, studying is going to be a thing. So creating a quiet, designated space for that, which is going to mean not a lot of noise, not being interrupted, probably not a TV or a device. But there are some kids who work better with light music. So identifying where that space can be and making it a conducive environment for your child. You know what works for your child. If this is your child's first year doing school, then let's start with what we would do for anyone, and then we can kind of curate it based on what they need. But essentially, quiet, separate from everyone else, where they're not getting easily distracted. There's not a device or sounds that are going to distract them, and they have the space to actually do the work that they need to do. And making sure they're set up for success. So the first week, you're probably going to want to help them in setting up that space or taking out the homework that they need to do, helping them get into a routine of, okay, I have 3 classes. Let me take out the first class. Let me finish that first, put that away. Then the second class, getting them a routine in that homework time will be really important. Then communicate openly about feelings surrounding school, fears, excitement, um, anger, sadness. There are a lot of emotions that come with not only starting school and the newness and not knowing what to expect, but as your child gets older, the friendships they've had, the teachers that they've met, the classes that they've had difficulty with. So, starting to talk about those things also before school starts is going to be important. Let's talk about how you're feeling and let's talk about how we work that out. Even if maybe it's not something we could work out right now, let's acknowledge that you feel that way and let's talk about what those fears are. And if those fears were to happen, how do we handle them? The more we can acknowledge our feelings, but also talk about ways to deal with them, the better equipped we feel. A lot of times, even if those things never happen, there's a comfort in knowing that there's a plan of how to deal with it. Even if it's who do I talk to if I'm in trouble? If that same person is mean to me this year, I go to my counselor. What's my counselor's name? How do I ask for help? All those things are going to be essential in helping your child get comfortable with going to school, especially if there have been some worries or some struggles in the past, or they're just starting school now. And then meeting with the teacher early and staying in touch via updates or a school portal. Um, Being able to meet your child's teacher, let them know who you are, let them know how important it is to you to be involved, and letting them know how they can get in touch with you is going to be essential to communication and also helping making sure that you have that connection. So if something happens, they already know who you are. So connecting with them, knowing how to engage with them, kind of figuring out who they are may also help you help your child be more adjusted. Remember, this is the person who's going to be seeing your child for most of the day. So really making that connection and making sure you have an open line of communication is going to be essential for your child's success and also for your comfort level and success when, not just if, you do have to have some communication. And then summer's fun. We get to not do the things we usually do, but it's also important to encourage reading and curiosity during the summer so that we're not totally lost on those skills when we get back. Just like we're going to prepare in advance to have those routines for school and to talk about how we're feeling in advance. The educational piece is also important. That's why we're sending them to school, right? So reading and curiosity is going to be important. So maybe that doesn't look like they're reading a long book, but maybe they're still reading graphic novels. Maybe they're still listening to audiobooks of things they enjoy. Maybe they're able to go to camp and do some science experiments, which is still keeping kind of those logical problem solving reasoning skills going. How do we make learning fun, but still make sure that we're not completely cutting that off during the summer so that it's not so hard to get back into the groove of things once school does start? And then we all need to sleep well, right? So practicing healthy sleeping habits is going to be really important. What's going to be our bedtime routine? So at least an hour before bed, we want to stop screens. We also probably want to stop liquids. And we want to talk about how we start to calm our minds down to relax, whether that's kind of debriefing and talking about all the things, the stressors that we needed. Sometimes when people experience anxiety, there can be kind of worry time. You get 10 minutes to get all the things out, say all the things, and get that off your mind. Because if there is some anxiousness and we're not able to release it, it can tend to make sleeping harder. But maybe we do other things like we take a warm bath or a warm shower. We get our favorite book. We color. We put on dim lights to start to kind of tell our minds we're relaxing and we're getting ready for bed. But starting to think not only about a bedtime routine that involves taking away electronics, but also is including relaxation and calming us down is going to be important. So what does that look like? And let's start to incorporate that consistently. And then finally, in addition to talking about emotions, let's discuss social scenarios and role play how we would deal with those conflicts. If your child hasn't had those struggles yet, they've likely had a peer who has. So if this happened to you, what would you do? Or I had this struggle and someone mistreated me. What do you think I should have done about that? This is what I would have done. What would you have done? The more we can talk them through how to deal with struggles when they happen, the better equipped they will feel. And even if it's something that we can't predict, being able to learn how to just think through struggles we go through is going to be essential to help your child problem solve in general. And so remember, there are a lot of things you can do to set your child up for success. But the most important thing is them seeing how you're feeling, you showing them how you cope with stress, you helping them balance expectations and encouraging them to do their best. And let's do that by encouraging a healthy bedtime, by setting up a quiet place for them to do homework, establishing a routine for them in the morning and the evening, making sure that we're communicating about our feelings and we're problem solving through potential stressors socially, because that's going to happen. Making sure that we're meeting with their teachers and making sure we're continuing to promote curiosity and reading so that we're keeping their minds active and ready for learning. You got this. This school year is going to be a success because you have all the tools you need to help your child thrive. So, this has been Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Brianna Gaynor. And similar to what we're talking about, just like Nina, the character in my book, Nina's Smile, every child faces challenges that can seem unfair at first, but with love, patience, and faith, they grow stronger every day. I invite you to explore Nina's story at drbriannagaynor.com and share it with your children. It's a story about resilience that can help them learn that you can go through difficulties and come out better than you started. I am so excited that you joined me today, and I hope to see you again on the next Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Brianna Gaynor. Have a good day.